Hello, BookTube, and welcome back to a series of videos in which I am reading you a book. We're actually reading a few books out loud, and I could do more. I love reading to you, as long as you're okay with me interpolating Steve comments along the way, because it turns out I cannot do an audiobook. I cannot read these things without commenting on them, but most of you seem okay with that, and as long as you are, I could do this forever. As long as the thing is in the common domain, I could do this forever. We are reading the Gospels, and we'll also read Acts, and that is amazing. It's amazing fun. My schedule today is a little bit upended, so I don't know how many videos I'll make today, but I wanted to make this one because we're in the middle of the Gospel according to St. Matthew, and some sub-elements are picking up steam. Jesus is growing more and more antagonistic towards the chief priests and scribes of the temple, for instance, in Jerusalem. Doesn't seem, just as in Mark, he doesn't seem either able or willing to simply change their hearts. Instead, a human drama is being set up where they are starting to want to destroy him. And also we get the usual patterns here of parables, clueless disciples, and also wonder-working, miracle-working. So we are up to chapter 16. I thought we'd at least do this today. I don't know how many other videos I'll make today. Chapter 16 in the King James Version, in case you're wondering about the antique language. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired him that he shew them a sign from heaven. He answered and said unto them, When it is evening, ye say, It will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, It will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, can ye discern the face of the sky, but ye cannot discern the signs of the times? A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall be no sign given unto it, but a sign of the prophet Jonas, for he left them and departed. And when his disciples were come to the other side, all this other side business is the Sea of Galilee. They're going back and forth like daytime commuters. They had forgotten to take bread. Like I mentioned, the disciples aren't the smartest people in the world. Then Jesus said unto them, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, It is because we have taken no bread. They're wondering why he's in a bad mood. Which when Jesus perceived, he said unto them, O ye of little faith, why ye reason among yourselves, because ye have brought no bread? Do ye not understand, neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000, and how many baskets ye took up? Neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000, and how many baskets ye took up? How is it that ye do not understand, that I spake it not to you concerning bread, that ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees? Then understand they now that he bade them not beware of leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. You have to admit, this is a little strange, as a detail to be included in a gospel and then left included. Okay, that it was written into these documents. We have no idea the origin, the script, the manuscript origin of these things. We have no idea what processes they passed through. But it's weird that 3 centuries later, when a lot of these things are being codified and being changed, why this was left in. Because not only is Jesus calling the disciples stupid for not remembering the miracle of the loaves and the fishes with the crowds, but also he's calling them dim-witted because they don't understand that when he's talking about the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he's not talking about bread. Of course, the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees are human beings. They are not made of bread. They do not leaven. It's an odd thing to leave in. Nice and humanizing, but odd. When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? He knows that word is spreading about him and wants to know what they are learning. And they said, Some say thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremias, and one of the prophets. He saith unto them, But whom do ye say that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it to thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say unto thee, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever thou shalt loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. Very interesting. How does Peter know? Has Jesus told them, and Peter is just reaffirming that he's the only one who actually believes it? Was Jesus asking them, who do you say that I am now in our conversation? Or was he asking them, who do you tell people I am when they say that I'm Elijah brought back alive again? Or John the Baptist alive again? Well, how do you respond to that? Which is he asking them? From that time, and also, just one more note here, it's fascinating that he is simply telling them that I am the Christ. I am the Messiah. These are lifelong Jews. They have been raised in the synagogue. They know the prophecies of a Messiah. Jesus is telling them, I am the person in those prophecies. It's a shame that the writer of Matthew, whoever it was, doesn't give us a little more about how amazing that must have been to hear. From that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples that he must go into Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and raised again on the third day. So he's not only telling them that I am the Messiah, he's also upending any idea they had of what a Messiah is. He's going to be killed. He's going to go to Jerusalem, and he is going to be killed there. And the fact that he knows he's going to be killed there is not stopping him from going. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee. And he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not of the things that be of God, but those that be of men. Pretty much of a roller coaster ride for Peter here. The one minute he's told that he's the gatekeeper of the whole church. Where's that word come from either? That's an interesting change. And here he's being reviled for presenting Jesus with objections. Peter is essentially saying to Jesus, you don't have to do this. But then Jesus said unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Again, as I pointed out with Mark, a contemporaneous first-time hearer of that saying would not have had any idea what Jesus was talking about. That saying is a direct indication that this stuff was written a long time later. When the idea of taking the disciples would have heard Jesus saying, take up a cross, they would have known what the image meant. That you bear the crossbeam of your crucifixion if you are sentenced to the most horrible death that Roman justice has to mete out. They wouldn't know it in normal conversation. You know that after the fact. That's a detail that was worked in after the fact, that the disciples don't seem to question that. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what if man profiteth, if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then shall he reward every man according to his works. Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Okay, so that ends the chapter, and we want to say a couple of things about that final bit. One is to echo what we said when we heard that same thing in Mark, which is that is simply a mistake. That was left into Scripture, and so believing Christians have to work around it. They have to figure out what it means on some level other than just the level we're reading it on. But the level that we're reading it on is simply wrong. Jesus is a doomsday prophet. He is sure that the end of the world is coming. He says to his disciples in Mark and in Matthew, there are people listening to me who will still be alive when this happens. Obviously, when some major transformation happens, because Jesus is predicting that he will be scourged, mocked, and killed, and will raise from the dead. So he will come back in the glory of his Father with angels ministering to him after that. Obviously, not before. And that didn't happen. Doomsday prophets always run into this problem. Jesus set a time clock on when the kingdom was coming, and it didn't happen. No matter what fancy dancing you might say about living in the Spirit, or even about an immortal centurion or a mortal disciple who was a wandering Jew who was not allowed to die just so that speech of Jesus will become true. If we leave out all of that, Jesus is just wrong. Everyone in his hearing died within 30 years, 40 years tops. And he died also. So No one is still alive who heard that prophecy. So that the prophecy is wrong. But another thing that we can say about it is answers the question of why it's here at all, right? Because early Christians in AD 200, AD 250, when there was a movement, and it was no longer a fugitive underground movement, it was big, it was well-moneyed, it had spread from Judea into the Middle East, all along the coastlines. It had writings, a body of writings, tantalizingly, probably 10 times bigger than what we have now. Though that 10 times bigger, eliminated not by fire or plague or pestilence or by unbelievers, but by other Christians. We see that in Paul, that his main preoccupation is with Christians that he doesn't like, not with unbelievers. But by, let's say, AD 250, in other words, long after everyone who heard anything about Jesus now was dead, this was still preserved in these Gospels. And it's in there, and I guess you have to ask why it's in there, and that will lead you to exegesis, which I'm not doing much exegesis in these. This is not really Sunday school, these read-alongs. It will lead you to exegesis to try and figure out, well, what does that mean? Because you'll be coming at it from a faith angle. And if you're coming at this from a faith angle, Jesus can't be wrong. So if he says something, there's got to be a way in which it is true. But no matter what you do with that, no matter whether or not you come at it from an exegesis angle, a faith angle, and you want to reconcile it with some sort of truth, I've seen very clever ways that was done. The fact that it's here, I think, is yet another mosquito caught in amber. It's yet another original detail that has just been, no matter how these things have been changed and rewritten and revised and whatnot, it stays lodged in there. From a time when this was originally being written down or recited, it was still within. This is in other words an arrow pointing to very early composition of some of these things, whether it was oral composition or written composition. It's an arrow pointing to a time when that was true. When all these events happened in my father's time, and he's been teaching me this, but he's still alive. And so is everyone else, a lot of people from that time period. So that's why I'm keeping this line, because this prophecy is going to come true. It's only after that, it's 100 years later, that a scribe, encountering the original material, might say, "Oh, I should probably leave that out, because that didn't happen." But by then, you couldn't leave anything out. By then, there was a received text of some kind or other, some primitive kind or other. I find little details like that fascinating. They're lodged like pits all through the Gospels, the Synoptic Gospels anyway. They're lodged all throughout. These little details that hint at when that particular line or detail was written. Some of them seem like eyewitness stuff. And this seems maybe not eyewitness, but contemporaneous. It doesn't make sense in any way except contemporaneous. The only way this makes sense as a line you write down is if there are people still alive from when you think Jesus was preaching in Galilee. I think that's fascinating. Just fascinating. So it's a fairly brief chapter. We're going to move on next time. I'm going to wrap this up for now. I've got a little bit of an odd day to deal with, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.